Welcome back to the deep dive. I was just scrolling through my phone this morning, and it hit me how abstract everything feels. We talk about the cloud all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's just this digital ether where everything seems to exist. It honestly feels like magic.
It does. I mean, it's designed to feel that way, right?
Yeah.
But you know the old saying, there is no cloud.
It's just someone else's computer.
Exactly.
And that's really what we're doing today. We are going to try and dispel some of that magic. We're grounding the concept in, actual hardware, wires, racks.
We're tearing apart the core architecture of Microsoft Azure to see what really makes it tick.
Yeah.
And honestly, this is one of the most crucial deep dives we can do. It doesn't matter if you're, say, prepping for a certification exam,
Right.
or you're just wondering how a huge global app stays online during a hurricane.
Mhm.
The answers are all right here in these building blocks.
So looking through the documentation we have here, the blueprints for Azure, it seems like we have to split this into two worlds, really.
That's right. You've got the physical infrastructure. Yeah. So that's the where does the data actually live part.
The concrete and steel.
Yep. The concrete, the fiber optics. And then there's the management infrastructure. That's the how do you organize and control all of it? The logical layer on top.
But before we get into any of that, we have to get in the front door. The source material spends a good bit of time just on how you even get into the driver's seat.
It does. And it starts with a distinction that trips a lot of people up right away.
Okay.
The difference between an Azure account and a subscription.
Right. I think most people just assume I have an account, so I can go build a server.
And that's the trap. Think of the Azure account as your global identity. It's like your driver's license. It just proves who you are to Microsoft.
But having a license doesn't mean you have a car.
Exactly. The car, or rather the ability to create anything, that requires a subscription. The subscription is the agreement. It's the billing and access boundary that lets you create resources.
So it's the keys to the car.
It's the keys to the car.
Okay, so the account is who am I, and the subscription is who's paying for this.
Precisely. And you can have multiple subscriptions under one account. We can get into why you'd want that later, but for now, just know identity and billing are separate things.
Now, for anyone listening who's thinking, okay, I want to try this, but I don't want to accidentally spend $1,000.
A very valid fear.
The entry ticket is actually pretty reasonable.
It is. The sources highlight two main free account options. The first one is just the standard Azure free account.
Available to pretty much anyone.
Right. You get a credit to use in the first 30 days, so you can play with the paid stuff, and you get access to, I think it's over 25 products that are always free.
But there is a small catch there, isn't there? A little point of friction.
A small one, yeah. You have to verify your identity with a credit card.
Yeah.
Now, they won't charge you until you explicitly upgrade, but you do have to put the card down.
Which for some people is a blocker. And that brings us to the second option, which I really wish existed when I was in school. The student account.
Oh, it's fantastic for learners. If you have a valid student email, you get a $100 credit, 12 months of free services, and this is the big one, no credit card required.
That's huge. It just completely removes that fear of, oops, I left a server on and now I'm bankrupt.
Exactly. It lowers the barrier to entry to basically zero.
Okay, so we have our account, we've got our subscription, we log in,
Yeah.
and now we're looking at the dashboard, which the source calls the Azure portal.
Right. Portal.azure.com, that's your GUI, your graphic user interface. If you like clicking buttons and seeing charts, this is where you'll live. It's very intuitive.
But, and there's always a but, the real power users, they aren't clicking through menus all day, are they?
No, they are not. Clicks are slow, and they're hard to repeat consistently. For speed and scale, you need the command line,
This is where the docs bring up the Cloud Shell.
which is just a brilliant feature. It used to be you had to install all these tools on your own machine, worry about versions. It was a mess.
Right.
With Cloud Shell, you just click an icon in the browser, and boom, a terminal pops up right there.
Already authenticated, already loaded with tools.
Instantly ready to go.
But
You do have to make a choice. It asks you to pick a flavor, Bash or PowerShell.
the eternal battle.
It is.
The materials pointed out some helpful visual cues, though, to know where you are.
They did. If you're in Bash, the prompt looks like username at Azure. Very Linuxy. In PowerShell, the line starts with PS.
Simple enough. But here's the tricky part. The commands don't always translate. The source used the getDate example.
Right. In PowerShell, you type get date, it tells you the date. Easy. You type that same thing in Bash.
And you get Command not found.
Exactly. It's like speaking the wrong language. But there is a bridge. Azure-specific commands, the ones that start with as,
Like as version.
right, as is version, or as upgrade,
Right.
those work in both. As is kind of the universal language there.
Now, for the listener who's maybe a bit intimidated by memorizing all these commands, there's a great pro tip in here, as interactive.
Yes. I tell everyone who's starting out to use this, you just type as interactive into the shell, and it enters this learning mode.
And what does that actually do?
It gives you auto-completion. It shows you descriptions of what commands do. It even provides examples right on screen. It's like having a tutor built into the terminal.
That sounds incredibly helpful.
It is. And you don't even have to type as before every command anymore. It just knows. It helps you build that muscle memory without all the frustration.
Okay, so we're comfortable. Let's talk about the physical infrastructure. Where does the data actually live?
It starts at the very bottom, the data center.
And these are pretty much what you'd imagine, right? Big buildings, racks of servers.
Exactly. Windowless facilities, tons of power, massive cooling, backup generators. It's industrial scale computing.
But I can't just pick a specific rack for my website.
No, that's all abstracted away. You interact with the layers above it. And the first layer of protection, and this is a key term, is the availability zone.
Okay, let's walk through this. The sources really flag this as critical for reliability.
It is. An availability zone, or AZ, is a physically separate data center inside a single region.
How separate are we talking?
Totally isolated. Independent power, independent cooling, independent networking.
So they aren't sharing a power grid or anything?
Not at all. That's the whole point. If a construction crew cuts the power to Zone 1, Zone 2 and Zone 3 are completely fine. They're connected by high-speed fiber, but they fail independently.
The documentation made an important distinction here between zonal and zone-redundant services.
Yes, and this is where you have to pay attention. A zonal service is like pinning something to one specific zone. You say, I want this virtual machine in Zone 1.
So if Zone 1 goes down, my VM goes down.
You're taking on that risk. A zone-redundant service, on the other hand, is where Azure handles the replication for you, like a SQL database. It automatically copies your data across the zones.
So if one zone fails, it just keeps running from another.
And you might not even notice.
Okay, so AZs protect me from a building-level failure. Let's zoom out. What's a region?
A region is a geographical area on the planet, like East US or West Europe, that contains one or more of those data centers. When you create anything, you have to pick a region.
And why does that choice matter so much? Is it just about speed?
Latency is the obvious one, yeah. You want your data close to your users. But the other big driver is compliance.
Data residency rules.
Right. If you're a German company and the law says personal data can't leave German soil, you have to pick a German region. It's not just about speed, it's about the law.
Okay, but here's the nightmare scenario. A massive hurricane hits an entire state. The whole region goes dark. Is my app dead?
This is where region pairs come in. This is the big picture safety net.
How does that work?
Most regions are paired with another region in the same geography, but at least 300 miles away. So East U.S. is paired with West U.S.
Far enough apart that one disaster probably won't hit both?
That's the whole design philosophy. And if a whole region does go down, services can be failed over to the paired region.
There was another benefit to this too, right? Something about updates.
Oh yeah, this is clever. When Microsoft rolls out a system update, they never do it to both paired regions at the same time.
So they don't accidentally break the whole country at once?
Exactly. They update region A, make sure nothing blows up, and only then do they update region B. It's a risk mitigation strategy.
I have to ask about the Brazil exception. I love finding these little quirks.
The Brazil-South anomaly.
So normally these pairs are two-way streets, right? A backs up B, B backs up A.
Correct. But Brazil-South is paired with South-Central U.S. First, that's outside its geography, which is rare. But the relationship is one way.
One way.
Brazil-South relies on South-Central U.S. for backup. But South-Central U.S. does not rely on Brazil. It actually pairs with North-Central U.S.
It's like an unrequited data love story.
It kind of is. Brazil is just sort of tagging along for safety because of its unique geographic isolation.
Okay, one last thing on the physical map. Sovereign regions. These are the special, isolated ones.
Right. The big one is U.S. Gov. These are for, like, the Department of Defense.
So physically and logically separate.
Totally. Operated by screened U.S. personnel. You're not running missile defense systems on the same hardware as some startup's app.
And then there's China, which has a unique business structure.
Very unique. It's a partnership with a company called 21viaNet. Microsoft provides the technology, but 21viaNet actually operates the data centers to comply with local laws.
So Microsoft doesn't directly run the buildings there?
Not directly, no. It's a clever solution to a complex regulatory puzzle.
Okay, so that's the physical world, data centers, zones, regions. But if you just start throwing servers everywhere without a plan, you get chaos.
You get sprawl, and sprawl gets expensive and dangerous fast.
Which brings us to the management infrastructure. The source material describes this like a set of Russian nesting dolls.
That's a great analogy. It's a hierarchy, and it's critical to understand because policies and permissions flow downwards.
Let's start at the very bottom, level 1.
Level 1 is a resource. That's a basic building block. A virtual machine, a database, a network, anything you create is a resource.
Simple enough, but you can't just have these floating around.
Nope. Every single resource must be in a resource group. That's level 2. And a resource can only be in one group at a time.
Now, why do we care so much about these groups? The documentation highlighted this lifecycle hack.
This is the best tip for developers. Imagine you spin up, 10 different things for a test project. A few servers, some databases.
The whole temporary environment.
Exactly. When you're done, do you want to find and delete all 10 of those things one by one?
Absolutely not. I'd forget one and keep paying for it.
Right. But if they're all in one resource group, you just delete the group, and poof, everything inside it is gone. Instantly.
It's your cleanup crew. It prevents those zombie resources.
It's a rite of passage for every cloud engineer to pay for a server they forgot about. This helps prevent that.
Okay, moving up. Level 3, subscriptions. We said this was the billing boundary, but why would I need more than one?
It's all about separation. For safety, you probably want to keep your production environments totally separate from your development one.
So a dev can't accidentally delete the live website?
They can only wipe out the dev subscription. Production is safe. It's an air gap. Or it could be about money. Marketing gets a subscription. IT gets one. Separate budgets, separate bills.
But what if you're huge, a company with 50 subscriptions? How do you apply a rule to all of them at once?
That's the top of the food chain. Management groups.
Level 4.
A management group is just a container for subscriptions. You apply a policy at this top level, and it inherits all the way down.
Can you give me a real-world example?
Sure, you're the CTO of a bank. For compliance, you want to ensure no one in the company can create a server outside of the U.S.
A global rule.
Right. You set a policy on the top-level management group. Allowed locations. U.S. only. Suddenly, if anyone in any of those 50 subscriptions tries to pick West Europe, Azure just says no. It blocks them.
That's governance at a massive scale, and you can nest these, right?
Up to 6 levels deep. You can mirror your whole company structure if you want. It's built to scale for the biggest organizations in the world.
It's really impressive how it all connects. We started with a blinking light on a server rack and ended up with a corporate governance policy.
That's the architecture, connecting the physical reality to the logical business needs.
So to synthesize this for everyone listening, we've covered a lot.
We have. We started with getting access accounts, the portal, the CLI, and some tools to help, like as interactive.
Then we dove into the physical infrastructure, the data centers, the availability zones, the region pairs.
Which is all about redundancy and resilience. It's the keep the lights on layer.
And finally, we layered on the management infrastructure resources, groups, subscriptions, and management groups, which is all about organization and control.
And the so what here is that Azure isn't just a place to run a VM. It's a massive engine designed for two things, resilience and governance.
But, and I think this is the key point, it doesn't just happen on its own.
That's the final thought I want to leave you with. It's all about the shared responsibility model. Azure gives you these amazing building blocks like availability zones. But for a lot of services, they don't turn them on by default.
You have to choose to use them.
Exactly. If you deploy one single VM in one building and you don't configure replication and that building goes down, you go down. Azure didn't fail you. Your architecture did.
That's a pretty tough pill to swallow.
It is. But you really have to ask yourself, are you truly using the cloud for its resilience? Or are you just renting a server in someone else's basement? Because if you're not using the architecture we just talked about, it's pretty much the latter.
That is a sobering thought to end on. It's a powerful tool, but you have to know how to use it correctly.
Precisely. Knowledge is really the only safety net that matters.
Well, that wraps up our deep dive into Azure's core architecture. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Keep learning.